to a special broadcast of Expressions. Now, if you're wondering where in the world are we, wonder no further. We are in Cape Town and we are hearing the voices of young people in terms of some of the issues that they're facing. As you know, Expressions is the platform where young people are heard. My name is Jacqueline Mapala. I'm your host.
I'm your host, Umqolisi Wagwamasango. Now, Sizagini from the Salt River Community Center, Konola Ekapa. Now, we are bringing you an hour of nothing but the best of all content. Now, Joba Sesonde my elections, we continuing with our coverage of what young people have to say on all spheres of the country, Jackie. And we do ask this evening, do all political parties have solutions to some of the social ills in our communities?
Well, that's a very important question because we know that the ANC and the DA have had an opportunity to govern in the Western Cape as well as in the city of Cape Town as well as other areas in this province. And this province, like many other provinces, faces many issues and challenges, particularly those facing young people. Now, the young people in the Western Cape are facing issues such as gangsterism, crime, unemployment, racism. The list goes on. And we've also seen a hike in service delivery protests as people are saying, we want more houses, we want more jobs. Now, the elections are coming up, and the question we're asking you, Kochaya, is this: which is the political party that is best positioned to address some of the issues that are faced by young people in this province? Mko?
Kusenjalo-ke, Jackie, we took to the streets ukuthi sizwe ukuthi abantu abasha bona bathini. Have a look at this.
Thina 24 years ngihlala asinambani sicala umbane emizini kodwa sawufakela umbane kwafakela ko-RR ngokuthi sizofakela izizathu asisazi uba yintoni sidala uba singafakelwa kudala saba lapha
asinambane kwaye siphila kabuhlungu nale nyunyu lesikuyo lena iyasibulala akumbi xa kushushu.
I-informal segment njengoba uzibona zininzi zezinye ezenza into yobana makube icrime ihigh ngoba kaloku i-informal segment akho street lights ezikhoyo kumnyama ezibona
iziyobisi esihlangana nazo apha engingqini yethu ne-gangsters zonke izinto zenzekayo zenzeka phambi kwethu abantu abadutyulwayo like kubi nje mani imessage apha eKasson
ndinolutsha ngoba like i-challenges zoba zisebenze zimbalwa nazo like yabo zezinye ze-challenges ezisibitayo thina apha.
Abantwana bethu batya iziyobisi abantwana bethu.
abantu bezepolitics bajonge iipokotho zabo bafuna ukuhluthisa iifemeli zabo balibale ngolutsha olukhulayo apho bekumele bakhona baphuhlisa abantu abatsha. Ndifuna ukubeka nje into ezinjalo because sihleli nje akukho misebenzi, intswelangqesho, icrime iyenyuka ngoba kudingeka imisebenzi. Abantwana abatsha bahlala ezikoneni akho nto ezibalulekileyo abazenzayo.
So those were some of the comments from young people on the streets on this so important issue that we're going to be discussing today. Welcome to Expressions. And of course, I never do this by myself. I'm also with my co-host, Mqolisi, who's obviously going to be getting some of the comments from the town hall that is represented tonight. Mqolisi, hello.
Hi, Jackie.
Hi.
Yeah, we're already on standby here.
We're already on standby there. It's going to get hot. So I think let's get straight into it. I mean, we've got a big panel tonight, and I want to give everybody an opportunity just to have an opening statement. We've got young people here. They want to hear who you are, what you represent. Can we start with the DA, please?
Thanks so much. You know, South Africa is a great country with even greater potential. And over the last 25 years, we've seen crime on the rise, we've seen corruption destroy us, and we've seen that young people don't have fair access to jobs. And as the DA, we've made that the hallmark of our manifesto. We want to see an honest professional police force. We want to see fair access to jobs. And we want to see a transport network that will allow young people to access opportunity. What voters need to do, especially young voters, they need to choose a party that best embodies what South Africa makes great. What young people need to do, young people need to choose a party with a proven track record. And if we do that, the Democratic Alliance will govern in 2019. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I think first and foremost, one thing I need to say is that on top of me being in the PEC, I'm number 3 in the ANC candidates to the provincial parliament. So that shows that the ANC does not just pay lip service to the issues of young people, but we're putting young people in the forefront to address their issues. But what we want to say today is that you are here in the Western Cape when the DA implodes and when the EFF has reached its sell-by date and the people in the ANC are on the rise. They are on the rise because throughout the province, young people have recognized that from 1994, the ANC has done a lot. 9 out of 10 schools are no-fee schools. From 1994, only 70 million was spent in higher education, and today it's 15 billion only in 2018. Young people also know that there were only 347,000 young people who were in institutions of higher learning, but today, through the African National Congress, there are over 1 million. So we are on the rise with young people. Everything is going to be addressed.
As the EFF, we are reaching out at young people saying that we want a free, quality, decolonized education, not this bogus education that the African National Congress government is currently giving to our people. Secondly, we want sustainable jobs, not the artisanships and the learnerships that are currently being granted by the DA in the province and as well as the African National Congress nationally. As the EFF, we want to see to it in terms of the housing opportunities for young people. Majority of our people are always kept in the squatter camps in the likes of Khayelitsha and other areas. That is why we want a review on the special planning in terms of accommodating our people, especially young people who spend most of their money traveling between Khayelitsha and all our townships and the city of Cape Town and other areas where you do not find our people, because the current special planning is still the apartheid setup that is keeping our people outside. So as the EFF, we are strongly encouraging that young people must vote the EFF come the 8th of May. The EFF is here for them.
You know where we are today after our freedom that we attained in 1994 and the dreams that we had for our country, the reality that we are experiencing today is just too far apart. And therefore, you need an alternative to begin to say, especially to young people, you must become part of building that future. We must honor our past. I was part of the people that fought for this liberation. But now you, as the young people, you have an opportunity to design your own future. And that is why in good more than 40% of our candidates are below the age of 40, because we've created the opportunity for young people to speak for themselves and say to this government, nothing about us without us. So we've created that opportunity. So we need to ask ourselves a question. And that question is, how are we going to achieve that? You have to look that the ANC has failed to bridge the divide between the rich and the poor. The DA is continuing to protect white privileges. The EFF... So young people must make the right choice and vote for a good alternative. Thank you.
As the PAC, especially the PAC youth, we are saying one thing, and that is many young people have realized this thing, and it's that the Mandela plan has failed. And it has failed dismally. People are going to tell us that the problem is corruption, the problem is not having enough jobs. The problem of this country is the problem of conquest by white people who have come and taken everything from us. We have not yet, and Pat says we achieved our freedom in 1994. That's not true. The land is still owned by those who took the land away from us. We are still staying in Khayelitsha, where people now have to create special bus transit systems. The problem is a special planning problem. We must destroy the townships. Our people are dying each day in the townships. As the PAC, we are saying that let's create a new South Africa, a completely different country. Let's have a new constitutional dispensation, because the one we have has failed us, and it continues to fail us. And until we say let us have a clear alternative, we're going to continue to be in the lull that we are in. So young people are clear, they say vote PAC.
As the PLF, we say that all the problems that manifest in the lives of the youth are because there's the land question that is unaddressed. But also would like to congratulate PLF on our battle plan. In it, we say the land must be given to young people. it must not just be an issue of old, middle-aged people getting the land when we get it. Also, there must be a new constitution and an economic plan also. We're saying that all unemployed young people, especially black people, must get 5,000 monthly, because to look for a job is a job in itself. So if you are looking for a job, let's say in Somerset, there must be a way to get to Somerset as a result of the spatial planning of apartheid in this country. We want a black bank that operates in a different way to mainstream banks. If I borrow 100, I must give back 100 because I'm young, I'm unemployed. We want free, quality, decolonized education from ECD to first degree. We're not playing about these things, and this is not a beauty contest about who makes the most noise. It's about content. We're saying all EPW interns must be incorporated in order to work. All graduates who are unemployed must receive the sectoral entry payment that everyone gets. We can't be taken to school and then we don't have jobs. We are willing to fight for these things. This is not a beauty contest. We are here to fight. When young people fight, it's when South Africa changes.
Young people must understand that we need a stable country. So what should be priority should be peace in South Africa. Now, ATM is saying that we can have all the beauty policies, all the nice things, but if this country is not in peace, therefore nothing can take place. As a party, we believe that without peace, nothing can happen. Secondly to that, we are saying as a party that what is lacking currently is what we call Ubuntu, which is humanism. We can have all the beauty things that have all my fellow servants here have said, but without Ubuntu humanity, knowing that what is best for me as Toban is best to the next person as well. If you can have that in South Africa, we get a good country. ATM is therefore saying that without that peace, but without Ubuntu, nothing can take place in South Africa. What is lacking in South Africa today is that people are putting us to power as politicians, we forget them. ATM is saying that it is the people that are our masters. We are as politicians servants of the people. Hence ATM is saying tonight that South Africans, young people in particular, vote for peace, vote for Ubuntu, vote for transformation, vote for servant leadership, and vote for accountability.
You've heard all the political parties that are represented giving you their opening statement and telling you what they stand for. Do you, as a young person, trust them to address some of the issues that you're facing? Well, you can decide. Stay with us. You're watching Expressions. We'll be back.
Umbuzo mkhulu namhlanje kusihlwa siyabuza ke, do all political parties have solutions to address some of the social ills that the youth of the Western Cape face? Now we are coming to you from the Salt River Community House khona in the Western Cape. Njoba wazi ukuthi Expressions iyonke indawo. We're not live this evening, kodwa make sure ukuthi uxhumana nathi inkundleni zethu zokuxhumana and get the conversation going ku Facebook, ku Twitter kanye na ku Instagram sikhona ke. So now we're going to be opening the floor to get some comments before we move over to our interactive section of the show. Perhaps we can start this side and get some comments from some of the statements that we've heard coming from the stage. Ma'am, let's take you.
In the Good Movement, one of the key things that we're looking at, obviously under the leadership of Ms. Patricia de Lille, we are prioritizing the inclusion of young people. And what we are going to be focusing on fiercely is socializing young people to actually learn how to or become more comfortable with creating jobs instead of being employees. Because at the end of the day, we have so many students going to university. They come out of university and then they end up on street corners like they didn't get an education. And there's a problem there. So the key problem is we need to create small businesses. Government needs to invest more money in the creation of small business. Thank you.
All right, we're continuing to get more comments we need to get more comments from the floor.
We want to know from the panelists. South Africa has the highest youth unemployment rate in the world. What are the panelists? What are each party going to do to change that and give jobs to the youth?
All right, we continue to get more comments.
My question to the panelists, outside of the Nyaupe talks of corruption in South Africa and unemployment, which we know that the problem is beyond the fact that our people are unemployed. Our people, to begin with, the country does not belong to them. It belongs to a minority from Europe. So I wanted to understand what is the alternative option outside of the fact that we want to deal with corruption. When are we dealing with the structural issues that a minority has ownership of the land while our people are landless in South Africa? And secondly, what are we going to do with the fact that regardless of whether we have so many people entering into a university, the type of education that is there is making our people to be servants in the same capitalist society in which we live in? So what are we going to say about people who are coming into this university want to be white without taking the needs of our communities first?
All right. Okay, let's continue.
I think my input is more to the DA because in the Western Cape, they're currently running this Western Cape.
Okay, can we allow her to make a point or come this side?
At the Western Cape, currently, the DA is bragging about job creation. Got job creation for who? They're referring to an EPWP program that is not sustainable. And that is the only program that recognizes people that are over age and no gender issues. That is fine. But we would want long-term investment for sustainable jobs. The EPWP is not helping you. It's not using to shake your head. You're not helping me. But in any case, even the learnership programs that they're advertising, there's an age restriction from 18 to 35. What happened to the person of 36 who's unemployed, who also want to go and study? I feel that is undermining the person of 36 who's unemployed and 37 because they're still young and vibrant and also want to work. And in the current state, the DA is also focusing on putting us in the jail, putting us in jail behind bars and poles made so full there. I don't know how they're going to generate the taxpayers' money because they're not connecting social ills with good policing. Right. So at the end of the day, they just look at the criminal activities in the Western Cape itself. That is a problem, yes, but please kill those people because out of the need analysis that we done as good, we see those people. It's ill because people don't have jobs, they're unemployed, they're dropouts. The need analysis said that people don't have a skill, don't have a job, but the job creation that they create is for the councillors' children and for something else.
Okay, should we get a... Okay, let's open it to the floor, please.
My question to the panel today is, I'm a person for running, I'm an athlete for over 40 years. I've achieved a lot and I'm currently busy 15 years working with kids between the age of 7 to 15. And it very frustrates me going to especially DA offices and ask them for assistance where they've got a budget for sports and recreation, to go into my community and organize events for the kids to keep them busy for 1 hour or 2 hours instead of being out in the field where they got shot by gangsters, where they were busy dealing in drugs. Because what happens, the gangsters are using those kids. Because if you go to jail, your mom will get you there, you won't be locked up.
As you know that as the youth of South Africa, we've lost hope to the current government. Unemployment, a lot of people are graduating and they sit at home with those black gowns. So I want to know, with the ATM, as you know that there's an increasing crime, murder and injustice in South Africa, what is it that ATM will do to protect its citizens?
I grew up in Western Cape. I've only known the Western Cape my whole life, and I've traveled around South Africa, and this is one of the most racist provinces in the whole country. Maybe it's because Jan van Riebeeck first landed here, and his spirit is still roaming around. But especially in the Western Capes, all of the farms and the winelands have our people who work like they are slaves in the farms. And when the ANC was in power, they did nothing. When the DA is in power, it got even worse. And unfortunately, Auntie Pat was there in the DA when that happened. I want to ask to the BLF leader, why is it that BLF thinks that it's important to give young people grants and things like that, and how do you plan to find the money to do that? Because we might scream about unemployment, but when the structure of inequality is still intact, we can't do anything to resolve the problem.
All right, okay, thank you. We are going to be coming back to the floor. We will be coming back because we've already ran out of time. Mbugeli Lapikaya, do make sure that you get this conversation going. Enkundleni zethu zokuxhumana. Expressions continues after this. Siyabuya. Now we are still coming to you from the Western Cape. This is Salt River Community House. Siqhubekela phambili. Now, Jackie, I'm going to throw to you, as we did hear our comments coming from the floor. Young people want solutions to crime. They want solutions to unemployment and poverty. Perhaps some of the panelists can take.
I think I'm going to take it straight to Patricia de Lille because there's so many questions that were directed to you. There's a lot of mistrust, and the fact that you were part of the DA and now you've started a new political party. I think address some of the issues that were raised on the floor.
Well, let me start with the issue of job creation. I think politicians must stop lying to people to say that they are creating jobs. Our jobs as politicians and in government is to create the conditions conducive for the private sector to create jobs. Coming to the question of creating SMMEs, exactly. There are lots of ideas there. People must come forward with ideas and there need to be a partnership. But for SMMEs to succeed, government must reduce the red tape. You know how difficult it is to create a small business or any business, and a red tape needs to be reduced to make it easier for young people. But also, if we need to address the high unemployment in our country, we need to go back to our education system. Our education system, there is a mismatch between the skills needed in our economy and what the education system is producing. So we need to look at the education system so that, especially with the so-called fourth industrial revolution, but we need to begin to retrain people with degrees in humanities to begin to look at the digital world and technology space. Then on the issue of crime. In the Western Cape, the scourge of crime and gangsterism in drugs is very, very high. And that's also impacting on unemployment. Because sometimes a young person had a job but become addicted to drugs and then have to leave that job. My message is to young people, be smart. Don't even start to use drugs. Because that's where it all begins. And then we all have a drug problem in South Africa. Because drugs is not only affecting the one who's addicted to drugs, it's affecting the family, the neighbors, the whole community. You know, the values of redress, the apartheid past, building a reconciliation in our country, having diversity and delivery. Those used to be the values of the DA when I was the mayor. I implemented all of those redress projects and the evidence is there. The reason why you didn't want me is because you want to only protect white privilege and I was fighting for the poor.
Some of the issues that have been cited, that have been highlighted on the panel tonight, as well as here on the floor, are issues that you were supposed to address when you were part of the DA. Now the question is... No. Hold on. Now, the question would be, if you were not able to solve some of the problems that have been highlighted by young people in this room, young people in this province, how is a new political party now going to make a difference? How is starting the Good Party now going to make a difference?
My sister, like I tell you, my track record speaks for itself. I have turned the city around to spend more than 76% of the budget on the poor. But, you know, transformation is an event. It's not an event, it's a process. You will never be able to address all the apartheid ills within a space of 7 years. I started, and what I've started to address the apartheid ills has now been stopped by the DA since I left.
Okay, so let's give
my
the DA an
values
opportunity
didn't
to speak.
change. My values are still the same. I still stand for the poor and especially the young.
Okay. can you just respond to the issues around racism, the failures that have come from, you know, the inability of the DA to address certain issues, and of course, the fact that you have Patricia de Lille here who started the Good Party, and she is literally your greatest opposition, or at least your greatest critic?
You know, let's start with how deeply ironic it is. If you take the youth seriously, why isn't the youth sitting on the stage for the good movement? Let's start there. Let's start there. Let's also just correct the narrative. You left Patricia de Lille. Why did you leave? Because serious allegations and findings was made by an independent investigation. In the Western Cape, over the last 10 years, 508,000 jobs, not EPWP jobs, jobs created in the Western Cape. That's 60% of all jobs in South Africa. That's a fact. When we came into government in 2009, 42 schools were created in the Western Cape. Right now, 172 schools. You see, colleagues, the facts don't suit the narrative.
Yes, it's fine.
Because what do they want to hear? The coalition of the aggrieved has come together because they can't hold on to power. In the DA, we stay true to our values because no one is greater than the DA. We hold everyone accountable. If you want to talk about, and you heard a lot of people, we've heard how they've misunderstood crime. In the DA, we've taken a whole of government approach. When we came into governance, 7 substance abuse treatment centers in 2009. How many are there today? 42. That's what the ANC has delivered. Because the DA takes addressing social ills seriously. The people who need to account to us about crime is the ANC. Because the national average for policemen to citizen is 1:300. In the Western Cape, it's 1:500. So if we want to address crime, the ANC needs to take our people serious. They need to stop murdering South Africans.
All right.
For you to address crime, we agree with Ms. Patricia very well. You can't address crime by deploying more policemen or the army, by the way. You can only address crime by making sure that you address the social ills. Because it's how people are living. They are not participating in the economy, and that makes them to be involved in drugs. The reason why young people are recruited by gangsters and all of that is because they are not working. Now that is the only opportunity for them to get an income. Now we want to say to young people, we're not going to stand on top of anything and make rhetoric here. We're going to be sensible because we're speaking to people who are innovative, who understand. For you to create any jobs, there must be economic growth. For you to address all the nice promises that the PLF is giving, you must have a growing economy.
Do you not feel that everybody's jumping on your bandwagon? There was a time where the discussion around land was not popular. The discussion around decolonizing education was not popular. Now when I'm listening to everybody, even in their opening statements, now it's like land, free education and so forth. I mean, I want you maybe to address that in terms of how you brought certain issues to the forefront, as well as maybe address some of the questions that were directed to you.
When EFF was formed and it articulated the issue of land, and as well as the nationalization of mines. One of the leaders of the ANC by the name of Susan Shabam said boldly, not in their lifetime. And it was echoed by the whole leadership of the ANC at that time. And this is why the reason why some of the leaders you find in the EFF were fired from the ANC, because it was not in their lifetime, not as long as the ANC is alive, that you will find all these things. And we have managed to push them. Even with the issue of the expropriation of land without compensation, it has been the EFF that was in the forefront. The issue of this free education that they are claiming today, Blade Nzimande was the Minister of Higher Education. They had to fire Blade. He was very much against the free quality education. They came with a study that came out in saying that it is practically impossible to have free quality education. The issue of creation of jobs, the ANC is going to talk about how investors, to appease investors. Investors were chased away by the ANC. They can still bring investors back, but with conditions that would enable them to come and invest in South Africa. Not to exploit the young people of South Africa. The ANC currently, with the issue of crime, they are saying that employing people will not do away with crime. It's because they are exploiting majority, in particular in the colored areas, making them police reservists. Not employing them, they've promised them since 2010 they will absorb all the police reservists. Till to date, the ANC has never done such a thing.
I mean, do you feel like you're listening to rhetoric? Have you heard these stories before? Can they answer and address some of your issues as a young person? Well, I mean, again, you must decide for yourself, but you must make sure you stay with us. We'll be back right after this. Tonight, and the poll question that we're asking you, Kochaye, is do the political parties have what it takes to basically address some of the issues that young people are facing, and who is best positioned to address some of those? I mean, we've had tempers flying this evening, and of course, because some of the issues that we're talking about are so important to young people. I mean, we've been speaking about the issues of unemployment, gangsterism, free education, and so forth. So we're going to continue our conversation. I'm going to allow the other political parties just to kind of chip in and be part of this conversation. I think maybe should we just start with the PAC? I think there's a lot that you also want to address. There was a question as well that was posed to you around how unemployment is going to be addressed most importantly, but also what is the alternative?
Thank you, Jackie. I mean, I want to first start you made a comment earlier on that most of the rhetoric is jumping on the EFF in questions of land, in questions of decolonization of the education. I want to say this is a lie. I mean, UNPET was there in 1994. The PAC has been saying land ever since it formed. In 1994, our slogan was to say, learn now and all else shall follow. The decolonization of education started in 2015 with the Rose Must Fall movement, which I was personally part of. So we must not give the EFF victories that they don't deserve. To move on to, I mean, some of the issues are talked about on the question of peace. We want peace in our land. And also, we want to have free crime zones. You are not going to be able to do this thing while we still have townships existing as they are. If we can all agree that townships were specifically designed to keep our people outside of the economic zones, to structurally make them unable to become economic zones. You cannot do that now by restructuring them. They have to be destroyed completely. We don't want townships. Our people are dying there, and we are not going to do this thing by trying to put in money and investing in the townships. It's not going to happen. We need to completely create new communities, and this thing is not going to happen in the way that the special zones are currently.
Linda, I want to ask you this. I mean, again, this is, for me, and I'm sure maybe for young people, it just sounds like the same thing, the rhetoric. So maybe the question would be, if you're talking about peace, if you're talking about saying that you want to remove townships and so forth, where's the money going to come from? We know we live in a country that is already cash-strapped. What are you going to take away from? Are you going to take away from education? Are you going to take away from the grants?
Okay.
I mean, what is the strategy practically?
The strategy is quite simple, my sister. In this country, the private sector, we don't even have to go overseas and get foreign investors. The domestic private sector sits with more than R1 trillion in the stock market. This money is not invested in the country, and the ANC government, ever since 1994, has progressively decreased the private sector tax. But personal tax is increasing every year, while business tax is decreasing. What you need to do, you need to force the private sector to invest in the economy. We need to be able to take back our land. This is something that we need to do. The problem of university students not having residences in their school is nothing outside of the land question. We need to be able to rezone all of the communities next to university so that students who are going to university are able to find a proper accommodation. So the issue is that private sector must be brought in and they must invest in this kind. And we're not going to do that by begging them. We've been begging them for 24 years. It's not going to happen. Okay. We need to be able to take back our land so that we can be able, the money that is being generated by these private farms goes back into the community.
Okay, so I'm going to also direct the same question to you, Ncedisa, because you also talked about 5,000 being given to young people. Again, where's the money going to come from? Are you going to continue taxing the middle class? Where's the money going to come from?
Look, You can tax 70% wealth tax on 100 wealthiest individuals in this country. You can stop the annual theft of over 100 billion by white monopoly capital. You use 20 trillion worth of minerals that are underneath this soil. God has been good to us in South Africa. You force white monopoly capital to invest 20 trillion in cash in the economy. PIC, the fight is about access to the PIC, Public Investment Corporation. All the problems that young people experience are because access to the economy we are excluded from that. And we are saying as a PLF, money is here. You can raise 5 trillion from the top 400 JSE companies.
So when you say force, you're going to force.
You must.
What would that look like? What does that look like?
It means that you must, as a movement like us, force the hand of capital. This pussyfooting around capital in this country is what has led us to this problem that we're finding ourselves in. You must be in the streets, you must be in the boards, force them to cede power because they have too much power as is. And white monopoly capital is controlling the economy at an extent that is creating all these problems that we're trying to respond to.
It just sounds a little bit like chaos and militarization of our country, because how do you force people?
Chaos often brings forth good changes.
Well, I mean,
because it's chaotic. If you go to Khayelitsha, there's chaos there. When chaos is visited on white communities where the DA protects them with all these policies that it enacts, for instance, giving Zionists our water, and having a middle-aged white man now still running, we never see them on the street, but our sisters from Khayelitsha and brothers from Khayelitsha are in the streets fighting for them, but when it's time for deployment to parliament, they're not there, these young people. So we're saying all of these must be done by us young people. We must fight for the land. The land is the central thing that will get us to solve the issue of unemployment, because unemployment is true in access to the land.
Let me allow Tobani to also come in. I think it's up to young people to decide whether that's the kind of country they want to live in. Tobani, you are a newly formed political party. Can we trust you to run the country?
I think it's important that we remain, as we want to take over this country as ATM, very calm in all the things that are happening around South Africa. Because the people want to vote for a very calm, collected and a peaceful party, which is ATM. Now, ATM is then saying to protect South Africans. The wealthy people, people who has money, are protected by their security systems, very good, highly paid security systems, and no one is able to get to them, right? Now, the poorest of the poor, no one gets to protect them. The police system is not good enough for them to protect them. Now, we are saying we want to introduce a justice-based capital system. That is, for example, if you look in South Africa, people are get to be killed in like no one's business. One is killed over a cell phone. Meaning, to take someone's life today in South Africa is nothing. Now, ATM is saying, therefore, the life of a human being is equal to anyone in South Africa. Now, it can't be correct that someone, just because of a cell phone, killed someone. How do we protect them, therefore? Because we're a party that is solution-based. We are saying that this system must be introduced simply because, one, when you introduce it, right, we are saying we introduce capital punishment because of the current challenges that South Africans are having. They are what you call, people are getting to be killed because of the races that they are. People who are human with albinism today get to be killed because they think that one can get muti out. Those are the problems that are people. So killing is nothing in South Africa. I'm saying all in all that this system will be able to ensure that people don't easily kill other people in South Africa.
I mean, I don't think there's anything else I want to add. We quit on your own in terms of what these political parties stand for, what they represent. Is this the same kind of story that you've heard before? I don't know. Stay with us. We'll be back. Welcome back. You are still watching Expressions here on SABC1, and the poll question that we're asking you tonight is, do political parties have the solution to curb the social ills affecting young people in the Western Cape? Now, it's been hot and it's been heavy, but we are actually going to wrap this conversation up. But I'm going to give Tobani, because I did promise you to at least have your say. I'm going to give you your minute just to finalize your thoughts.
There's no way that one can just create job opportunities by not ensuring that the microeconomy in South Africa is mainly managed, properly managed in South Africa. How do I do that? Currently, the microeconomy in South Africa is owned or run by our fellow brothers from the other countries. Now, for us to ensure that we create jobs, we need to be able to say, we need to manage that first. It's done here. These spaza shops in South Africa have been run by our people to ensure that we're not only saying they must run it, but give the necessary guidance for them to run this kind of businesses.
I'm going to link back to Mkolisi just so that we can get some final thoughts from the floor. Go.
Thank you very much for that, Weche. Kimbugeli Lapikaya, we continue with this all-important discussion, and we also see your comments on social media. Please do keep them coming. We are going to be taking one from each party to wrap up your thoughts as well. I'd also like to hear from the CPF, but let's take you from the good party.
My question is to Little Boy Blue on the stage. Are you prepared to admit to the crowd here how you got through your matric? That you stole papers,
all right,
and that very woman that you are claiming to be corrupt bailed you out to get you where you are. And then to Mrs. Dillon, what advice do you have for all the youth leaders that's sitting on stage? And then if you can just share with us your what you've learned in your political career thus far.
To Mr. Lil, on the 18th of January last year, and we've got the evidence, you made a statement that 60% of the people in Cape Town were wasting water and that they needed to be punished. We are still being punished today. So don't talk about that you're defending the poor, because you are responsible for the high water tariffs in this city. Thank you.
All right. Let's move right along. The main question that is being asked is, what are you saying to the young people? But instead, what we are hearing is political parties, this has become a battlefield for them to attack each other. So now I want to address the servant of the ATM. What is it that is unique about you as the ATM that you think you can bring to South Africa to change things around? You can bring to South Africa to give hope to the young people, because young people are despondent and young people are losing hope.
Outside of the noisy corruption and unemployment, what is to be done with the fact that over 24 years since the new dispensation, a minority still controls everything in this country?
Ms. Patricia de Lille, I'm worried you next time are going to create a political party that is going to compromise of 48 colors, which represent all these parties here. So we cannot trust you. The second one is that the DA must not come here and act as if the Western Cape is not protecting the interest of white people. It is clear it's only the EFF that stands and speaks the truth, because our aim is only to protect the interests of a black child. We are the only people in this country, after 25 years, who still stay in the informal settlements. And the service delivery, it's not the same as the service delivery that you get in the suburbs.
Joba Segunjalo, Mbugelewe expressions, we've already heard from the floor. Of course, I need to hand over to Jackie. Perhaps we can try and wrap it up now.
Yeah. Okay, and we're going to wrap it up. I'm going to allow all the political parties just to have your closing comments. These are closing comments, 30 seconds each, please. I think let's start here with the DA.
In the end, young people's going to choose jobs, they're not going to choose poverty. And there's only one party with a proven track record of service delivery and of changing people's lives. And that's the DA.
To the young people of South Africa and the Western Cape, we want to say to you, the ANC is presenting the message of hope. The ANC has made sure that in the Western Cape we have 2 SEZs that we have just formed in Saldanha and one in Atlantis. The ANC is the one as declared by the UN. When the question about money is arising there, declared by the UN under Cyril Ramaphosa in 1 year, foreign direct investment has increased by 440%. Lastly, we want to say, just recently there is a 291 billion rand invested, and that, as declared by the president, will prioritize jobs for young people. Thank you.
As a EFF, we have sent initially in the negotiations, during the negotiations period, to Mamina, we tumored him to go and get land and our natural resources. He ended up being the one that is benefiting from the very same mandate that we have given him. Hence, he owns shares in the loan min. And he's filthy rich now, as the only president that is filthy rich in South Africa. So as a EFF, we say without addressing the issue of land, and of which 50% of it should be allocated to women and young people, and also addressing the issue of education, free, decolonize, which will be presented in languages, home languages, indigenous languages that they understand.
I left the bad to form the good. Because if good people do nothing, that's when evil and corruption triumph. But I want to tell this young man liar sitting here. He was the junior mayor, and he stole exam papers and I had to bail him out. He mustn't come and talk about corruption. I'm not corrupt. I won all the court cases.
The current dispensation doesn't work for us. We must all agree that the 1994 project has failed, and we need a clear alternative outside of the 1994 dispensation. We need a new constitution, completely new. We need the land back as the basis. The original sin of this country was our land being taken away. And if you say out loud, South Africa does not belong to all who live in it. South Africa belongs to Africans. And until we realize that thing, we are not going to solve the problems of South Africa. Vote PAC.
We are saying as BLF, vote number 18 on the ballot box, this man here. And we are saying public servants must use public services when they get into parliament. Is Auntie Patricia willing to do that? We have done that. Is Taiko willing to do that? Is the ANC willing to do that? So that we can get rid of people running to the private sector, politicians who have money, and leaving the public sector in ruins.
We are saying that we must have a state bank in South Africa. That's number one. Number two, we are saying our health system must be improved. We must make sure that our rural areas must receive the same attention our cities receive in terms of the health system. That's ATM. We are saying to young people in South Africa, stop voting for chaos, vote for peace, vote for Ubuntu.
Thank you very much. Uncle, did you feel that they addressed some of the issues that young people were sort of like tabling towards them?
Of course, you heard from the floor as well. There were some voices that continue to echo even at this moment. Which, remember, Mutomusha, you are the one who's going to cast your ballot on May the 8th. So make that decision. It's all up to you. And once again, thank you very much to the audience for joining us. Thank you to the community. Give yourself. And we also a very big thank you as well to the Salt River Community House for housing us today. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for coming. We're closing off, and of course we're going to be closing off with a performance.
Yes, it's a poetry performance. Thank you for watching, everybody. Goodbye.
Aha, kudala udlala ngam ngenxani ngenanto ngokusisinazi dedelana. Let's be resilient. The earliest bird is the one that catches the first worm. Freedom of expression is what we need as a nation. Let's be resilient. Life is like a wheelbarrow. Unless it is pushed, there will be no moving forward. Let's be resilient. African child, stop saying you can't. I am not a perfectionist, but I try all means to be a pacifist. I try to shake the world to listen. And this is our nation. Thank you very much.